Kong Jae-won was in the middle of a toast when she walked in. 120 people. Champagne raised. The whole room turned toward him like a compass finding north. This was his night. His tower. His city, really, if you counted what his family owned in it. Then the elevator opened behind him. Nobody moved at first. They just looked. She was pushing a cart. Delivery uniform. A head wrapped the color of burnt orange. Work boots that had seen actual work. And a 7-tier cake stacked on that cart like a small building. She wasn't looking at the room. She was looking for the table. Jae-won turned around. Their eyes met. He smiled. That smile. The one that closed deals and ended conversations. He walked toward her with his champagne glass still in his hand, unhurried, like he owned the floor she was standing on. He did, technically. He said something smooth. The room leaned in without meaning to. She looked at him the way you look at a parking cone. You're blocking the cart. Someone near the bar made a sound. He laughed softly, pivoted, said his name, the full name, the way you say it when the name is supposed to land like a hand on a shoulder. She tilted her head. Good for you. This cake weighs 40 pounds, and I charge by the hour. You gonna move? She didn't wait. She stepped around him, found the table herself, set the cake up with the efficiency of someone who had done this 100 times, photographed it for delivery confirmation, and walked back to the elevator. She never looked back. The doors closed. Jae-won stood in the center of his own birthday party. 120 people holding their breath. The string quartet had stopped playing. Nobody seemed to notice when. His chief of staff, Min Seo, appeared at his elbow. She had managed his life for 7 years. She said nothing. He looked at the elevator doors for a long moment. Then he finished his champagne. Thank everyone for coming, he said quietly. Jae-won, the party is over. Before we go further, quick question. Are you watching this alone right now? Or is someone sitting next to you? And where in the world are you watching from tonight? Tell me in the comments. Welcome to Lily's Afro-Korean Mafia Tales. 3 years before that elevator opened, Sabrina Diallo was standing in a professional kitchen in Baltimore at 11 p.m., watching a man take a bow. Chef Raymond Webb. Executive chef. The kind of man who got loud when he was wrong and quiet when he was stealing. The James Beard nomination was on the screen behind him. His name. His photo. His quote about his pastry collection. A Senegalese-French fusion concept he called knit. 12 dishes. 18 months of her life. Her grandmother's recipes reconstructed through classical French technique. Her hands. Her notebook. Her name on nothing. She stood in the back of the kitchen and watched the entire staff applaud. Webb caught her eye across the room. Held it for exactly 2 seconds. Then he looked away and shook someone's hand. That look was the whole story. She filed the HR complaint the next morning. Clean, documented, with dates and photographs of her original notebook pages. 2 weeks later she was off the schedule. No call. No meeting. No termination letter. Just gone. Like a name erased from a whiteboard. She spent 6 months fighting it. Lawyers who stopped returning emails. A union that suggested she consider whether this was really worth pursuing. An industry that simply got quiet around her. The specific quiet of people who know something happened and have decided they won't be the one to say it. She sublet her apartment. Called her friend Camille in Seoul. How long can I stay? As long as you need, Camille said. What happened? Everything I built. Someone else is standing in front of it. She left on a Tuesday. Didn't tell her mother the real reason for 3 months. Seoul received her without ceremony. That was fine. She wasn't looking for ceremony. She found the farmer's market in Mapo-gu on her 2nd week. A vendor had a table opening. She paid the deposit with the last of her freelance savings, ordered supplies, and spent 2 days building out her setup in Camille's kitchen. Camille watched her work in silence for a while, then said, "You know you could just rest." Sabrina was scoring croissant dough. This is resting. She wasn't wrong. This was the only place she felt quiet. Flour, butter, heat, the specific patience that pastry required. You couldn't rush it. You couldn't fake it. The dough either worked or it didn't, and when it didn't, it was always your fault, and you always knew exactly why. She respected that about it. The first Saturday at the market she sold out in 90 minutes. The second Saturday someone posted a photo online, and she sold out in 40. By week 4 she had regulars. An elderly Korean man who bought the same almond croissant every week and ate it standing up, eyes closed. 2 university students who split 1 honey cardamom between them like it was medicine. A woman with a baby who always came last and always looked exhausted, and Sabrina always had something set aside. She was not happy exactly, but she was building something that was hers, that nobody could put their name on. She believed that. She had to. She was mid-setup on a Saturday 6 weeks in when a man in a gray cap joined the back of her line. Plain coat. No entourage. Hands in his pockets. She served 6 customers before he reached the front. She looked up. He said, "1 honey cardamom croissant, please." She made his change in coins. Every single coin, counted into his palm without ceremony. He pocketed them. She watched him take 1 bite as he walked away. He stopped walking. stood completely still for a moment, then kept going. She turned back to her table. Interesting, she thought. She would not think about it again until he came back the next morning. He came back every morning for 6 days. Day 2, same order. She charged him a different price, slightly higher, no explanation. He paid without looking at the total. She took the difference and walked it over to the woman 2 stalls down selling vegetables in the cold, the one whose hand shook a little in the morning. The woman tried to wave it off. Sabrina put it in her apron pocket and walked away before she could give it back. J1, halfway through his croissant, watched the whole thing. Day 3 he tried conversation. Asked how long she'd been baking. Long enough, she said, and handed the next customer their order. He waited. She did not add to it. He left. Day 4 it rained. He showed up anyway. Her awning was fighting itself in the wind. Without saying anything, she slid a wrapped croissant under the overhang toward him. He took it. He stood in the rain and ate it while she worked. When she looked up, he was still there. You're going to ruin those shoes, she said. They're just shoes, he said. She said nothing to that. Day 5 she arrived to find a black umbrella leaning against her table. No note. No one standing near it. She looked around the market. He was already gone. She used the umbrella for the whole setup. Told Camille nothing about it. Camille noticed she was sleeping better. Decided not to say anything either. Day 6 was clear. Cold, but clear. Sabrina was already watching the far end of the market when he came around the corner, and something about the fact that she was already watching made her jaw tighten slightly. He reached the table. She wrapped a croissant before he ordered. Then she stopped. Set it down. Looked at him. You flew somewhere this week. To still be here every morning. He didn't answer. That's an answer, she said. She turned back to her table. Then, without turning around, I close at noon. Be at the bench by the East River path at noon. She served the next customer. He stood there another moment, then nodded at the back of her head and left. Camille was watching from 2 stalls over where she was buying tangerines and absolutely not minding her business. She called Sabrina at 11:45. Don't change your clothes. I wasn't going to. Good. If you change your clothes, you'll make it weird. Camille. I Googled him, Sabrina. A pause. I know, Sabrina said. I Googled him on day 3. The silence on the line had a specific texture. And you've been selling him croissants. He keeps buying them. Sabrina. He's 1 hour, Camille. I gave him 1 hour. She hung up. He was already at the bench. No phone in his hand. No calls. Just sitting, watching the river, 2 paper cups of coffee from a vending machine on the bench beside him. Sabrina sat down. Took 1 cup without being offered. Looked at the river. 1 hour, she said. Okay. Why are you here? He took a moment. Not performing thought, actually thinking. You treated me like I wasn't impressive, he said. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. That might be the saddest thing I've ever heard. I know, he said. She looked at him then, fully, like she was reading something. He let her. What do you actually want, she said. Not from me. In general. What do you want? He opened his mouth. Closed it. The honest answer was taking longer to find than the polished one. I want to be somewhere I didn't have to perform to get into, he said finally. Sabrina was quiet for a moment. Tell me something true, she said. Not impressive. Not interesting. True. He looked at the river. I was engaged 6 months ago. She left. She said being with me felt like living in a building with no windows. He paused. She wasn't wrong. Sabrina turned the coffee cup in her hands. Did you cry? No. Did you want to? He thought about lying. Decided against it. Yes. When's the last time you did? He genuinely could not remember. She nodded. Not with pity, with recognition. The way you recognize a kind of damage you've seen before, maybe in a mirror. Your turn, he said. She looked at him. That's not how this works, she said. I gave you 1 hour. You don't get questions. Fair. But. She looked back at the river. I came to Seoul because someone took something I built and put their name on it. 3 years of my work. And the system I trusted to fix it decided I wasn't worth the trouble. She said it clean. No wobble in it. Like she'd said it to herself enough times that it had dried out. He said nothing for a moment. Then, what was it? A pastry collection. Senegalese French fusion. I called it knit-knit. She paused. It's Wolof. It means something like, the dignity of being human. He went very still. She didn't notice. She was watching a boat move through the gray water. I'm sorry, he said. Don't be sorry, she said. Just don't be like that. She stood, gathered her cup. Same time tomorrow. Bring better coffee. That machine is criminal. He watched her go. He sat on that bench for a long time after she was gone. The river moved. The city made its noise. Knit-knit. The word was sitting in the wrong part of his memory. The business part. He couldn't place it yet. But it was there, scratching at something. He let it go. He'd think about it later. He didn't know yet that thinking about it later was going to change everything. If this story is pulling you in, hit that like button right now. It helps more than you know. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Drop a comment and tell me. Would you have done what Sabrina did? Would you have moved the cart? They met at the river for 11 days. Each time she gave him an hour. Each time he was already there before she arrived and left after she did. He brought better coffee starting day 2. Real coffee, from an actual cafe, 2 cups. Her order memorized after she mentioned it once in passing. She noticed. She said nothing. On day 4 she brought food. A small container of thai boda and her mother had messaged her the recipe for at midnight. Rice, fish, tomato. The smell of her grandmother's kitchen compacted into a plastic container she'd made at 6 a.m. She set it on the bench between them. He looked at it. My mother's recipe, she said. My grandmother's, really. Eat it or don't. He ate it. Slowly, carefully, like something that deserved attention. When he finished, he was quiet for a long moment. What was she like, he said. Your grandmother. Sabrina looked at the river. She came to Baltimore from Dakar in 1981. $40 and a Bible and a bag of spices nobody here had heard of. She cleaned office buildings for 15 years until she could open a catering business. She ran it until she was 73. She paused. She never once asked anyone for permission to take up space. J1 said nothing. He was just listening. In that way she'd noticed he had when he wasn't performing, the way his whole body got still. She sounds like someone who knew exactly who she was, he said. She did, Sabrina said. I'm still working on it. He looked at her. You seem pretty clear to me. I know what I want, she said. That's not the same thing. He thought about that for the rest of the day. On day 7, she brought her business binder. Not on purpose. She'd come from the market with her bag, and it was in there. But at some point she took it out, set it on the bench, and didn't put it away. He looked at it. Didn't touch it. Diallo's Bakehouse, she said. Baltimore. That's the plan. How long have you been building this? 3 years. She paused. Longer, really. I started the first version in culinary school. Drew it in a notebook at 2 a.m. She tapped the binder. That notebook is in here. He looked at her. Show me, he said. She opened it. He read. Not quickly. He read like it mattered, the way he probably read acquisition documents at midnight. She watched him turn pages, the original sketches, the supplier contacts, the financial projections she'd revised 4 times. He pointed at a line item. This equipment estimate is low. I know. That's the second phase number. First phase I'll lease. He looked up. Have you done the supplier negotiations already? I have 2 locked in Baltimore, and 1 I'm still working in Dakar for the spice imports. Dakar. Direct import. My cousin handles the sourcing. We've been building the relationship for 2 years. He closed the binder. Looked at her with an expression she hadn't seen on him before. What, she said. You already built it, he said. This isn't a plan. It's almost finished. Almost, she said. She took the binder back. I still need the money for the Baltimore lease. And I need my name back. He said nothing. Don't, she said, reading whatever was in his face. I wasn't going to. You were thinking about offering something. Don't. He closed his mouth. I didn't sit here 11 days for a patron, she said. I have a plan and I know how to work it. I know that, he said. I wasn't going to offer money. Then what were you going to say? He paused. I was going to say that you're the most capable person I've talked to in years, and I don't know what to do with that. Sabrina looked at him for a long moment. Then she picked up her coffee. That, she said, you can say. Min-seo called that afternoon. J1 was in the back of a car heading to a teleconference he'd postponed twice already. The Busan deal needs you present, she said. Not on a screen. In the room. Set it for Thursday. You have the Tokyo delegation Thursday. Friday. J1. A pause. I've rescheduled 8 things in 2 weeks. People are talking. Let them. That's easy for you to say. I'm the one managing the calendar. I know. I'm sorry. He meant it. A longer pause. Min-seo had known him long enough to understand the difference between his deflections and his apologies. This was the second kind. Is it serious? She said. He looked out the window at the Seoul streets. I don't know what it is yet. Is she a good person? She's a real person. I'd forgotten what that felt like. Min-seo was quiet for a moment. Thursday, she said. Give me Thursday. Friday. Thursday morning. I'll move Tokyo to the afternoon. Deal. He hung up. Looked at his phone. Opened his portfolio app. Not for any specific reason. Just muscle memory, the way you reach for something familiar. He scrolled through the hospitality subsidiaries. One name caught his eye. He sat up slightly. Scrolled back. A restaurant group. American. Acquired 18 months ago from an investment firm. Their flagship concept, a French fusion pastry collection. Significant press. A James Beard nomination the year prior. The concept's name, Knit. He stared at the screen. The car moved through traffic. Outside, the city was loud and lit. He opened the acquisition file. He read for 3 hours. The restaurant group file was 47 pages. J1 read all of it, in the back of the car, then in the elevator, then standing in the middle of his office without taking his coat off. The acquisition had been clean on the surface. An American investment group, mid-tier, offloading hospitality assets. Standard terms. Nothing irregular. But the concept documentation for the flagship restaurant, the part that detailed the original creative development of NIT, had an internal flag. A small red icon he almost scrolled past. He tapped it. A legal note. Date stamped 14 months ago. Authorship dispute. Resolved via settlement. Original creator documentation on file. NDA in place. Proceed. He found the attached document. The original recipe development file. Timestamped 2 years before the James Beard nomination. Handwritten pages, scanned. Sketches. Flavor notes. A collection title in large letters at the top. Nit Diallo S. He set his phone on the desk. He did not move for a full minute. Then he picked the phone back up and found the settlement document. She'd been offered something. A number so small it was almost an insult, dressed up in legal language to sound like generosity. Her signature wasn't on it. He checked again. Her signature wasn't there. The settlement had been filed with a third-party representative claiming to act on her behalf. He didn't recognize the name. He doubted she did either. He put the phone face down on the desk. His empire, his portfolio, his money, his name, was running a restaurant built on stolen work. Work stolen from the woman he'd been sitting with every morning for 11 days. A woman who'd sat across from him and said nit in her own language and watched him eat her grandmother's recipe and said quietly that she still needed her name back. She didn't know. She had no idea. He thought about calling legal first. That was the correct procedural move. Get counsel on the line, assess exposure, draft a containment strategy. He picked up his phone, dialed her number. It rang 4 times. He thought it would go to voicemail. He didn't know what he'd say to voicemail. She answered. "It's late," she said. Not accusing, just noting. "I know. I need you to listen to me for a minute." Something in his voice made her go still. She sat up. "I found something tonight," he said. "In my own portfolio. I need you to know I found this tonight, after 11 days of—" He stopped. Started again. "I need you to understand the order of things, Sabrina. Before anything else. Please." Silence. "What did you find?" she said. He told her. Not the legal version. Not the softened version. He told her exactly what he'd read, what the file said, what the settlement document showed, and what her name looked like at the top of a page his company had been burying for 14 months. He talked for 4 minutes. She didn't say a word. When he finished, the silence stretched long enough that he checked the call was still connected. "What's the restaurant group called?" she said. He told her. A sound came through the phone. Not a gasp. More like something landing. Like a book dropped on a floor. She knew that name. She'd filed an inquiry about that group 8 months ago, looking for the trail from Webb, from the nomination, from the money. The inquiry had gone nowhere. A wall of polite non-responses. Now she understood why. "How long have you known?" she said. 40 minutes. She said nothing. "Sabrina. Don't call the lawyers tonight," she said. "I need to." I said don't. "Give me until morning." She hung up. Camille was asleep. Sabrina stood in the kitchen in the dark and didn't turn the light on. She stood there long enough that the city outside the window shifted. Fewer cars, fewer lights. The deep quiet of 3 a.m. finding its register. She opened her binder on the kitchen table. Sat down. Put her hand flat on the cover. Her grandmother's voice, the way she remembered it. Low and certain, like someone who had never needed to perform certainty. Lou M. Jeff, M. Non-Jek. What has value, first has a price. She'd paid the price. She'd paid it 3 times. The work, the fight, the leaving. And now this. She sat with it. All of it. The specific feeling of finding out the walls you thought were just bad luck were actually someone's architecture. Then she thought about something else. She thought about a man in a gray cap standing in the rain eating a croissant. A man who showed up with better coffee because she mentioned once that the vending machine was criminal. A man who read 47 pages at midnight and called her before he called his lawyers. The order of things. She sat with that too. At some point Camille appeared in the doorway in her oversized sleep shirt, taking in the dark room, the open binder, Sabrina's expression. She didn't say, "What are you doing up?" She pulled out a chair and sat down. "Tell me," she said. Sabrina told her. Camille was quiet for a long time after. Then, "Do you think he knew?" "No. That was fast." "I know. That means something." Sabrina looked at her binder. "It means I believe him. It doesn't mean this isn't a disaster. It doesn't have to be both." Camille said. Sabrina looked up. "A disaster and still something real," Camille said. "It can be both. People always want it to be one or the other." Sabrina closed the binder. "He has to fix it completely. Public. My name, my grandmother's name, everything. Obviously. And I set the terms. As you should. And I don't know yet what else." She paused. "I don't know what I want from him after." Camille looked at her for a long time. "I think you do," she said. "I think that's actually the problem." Sabrina said nothing. Outside, Seoul hummed its 3 a.m. frequency. The binder sat between them on the table. The name on the cover in her own handwriting. Diallo's, catching the light from the window. Sabrina knows. J1 confessed. Now comes the reckoning. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me, would you have forgiven him? I need to see your answers. She texted him one address. A cafe near the market. 7 a.m. No other message. No explanation. He didn't ask for one. He was already there when she arrived. Small table in the back. No suit. Just a dark sweater and the same quiet he wore to the river every morning. 2 coffees. Her order. She sat down. Took the coffee. She put her business binder on the table between them and turned it so it faced him. He looked down at it. This is what I want, she said. Not from Con Global. Not from a legal team. From you. Directly. He looked up. She walked him through it. Full credit restoration. Her name on every piece of documentation tied to the knit collection. Public. Permanent. Unambiguous. A press statement. Not a corporate one. A real one. With his name on it. That said clearly what happened. He nodded once and didn't interrupt. Retroactive licensing revenue. She'd calculated it herself. 18 months of restaurant operation, the percentage that corresponded to the concept's contribution to the business. She showed him the number. It wasn't punitive. It was exact. He didn't flinch. And then she turned to the last page. A sketch. Not financial, not legal. The interior of Diallo's bakehouse. Rough lines, pencil, the counter, and the wall above the register. I want one more thing, she said. On that wall. My grandmother's name. Aja Diallo. A photograph. And underneath it, in the restaurant that used her food, permanent attribution. Her name. Her origin. In writing, on the menu. He looked at the sketch for a long time. When he looked up, something had shifted in his face. Not sentiment, something quieter than that. Like a door he'd been keeping shut had simply opened because there was no longer a reason to hold it. Done, he said. All of it. She nodded. I'll have the legal framework to you by end of day, he said. Min SEO will coordinate. You'll review everything before anything is filed. I'll have my own person review it. Of course. She picked up her coffee. Drank. He watched her. Can I ask you something? He said. Not as Con Global. Just as me. She waited. He turned the coffee cup in his hands. This man who ran a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, who had been the most certain-looking person in every room she'd ever seen him enter. He looked unsure. It was the most honest she'd seen him. I don't want the mornings to stop, he said. The bench. The coffee. Whatever this is. I don't want it to stop because of something I didn't know I had. The cafe around them was doing its morning business. Cups clinking. Low conversation. The smell of something baking in the back. Sabrina looked at him. That depends, she said. On what? On whether you can be useful. He blinked. Not impressive, she said. Not resourceful. Useful. There's a difference. I know the difference. Prove it, she said. She closed the binder. I'm going back to Baltimore in 6 weeks. The lease is signed. The build-out starts the week after I land. She stood. If you want to be useful, you'll figure out what that looks like. She picked up her bag. Thank you for the coffee, she said. She left. He sat at the small table in the back of the cafe and looked at the empty space where her binder had been. Then he got out his phone and called Min SEO. Clear the next 6 weeks, he said. J1. Everything that can be delegated, delegate. What can't be, I'll handle remotely. He stood up and pulled a contact for that restaurant group's legal lead. I need to call today. What happened? Something I need to fix. Today, Min SEO. Not by end of week. She was quiet for exactly 2 seconds. I'll have it in an hour, she said. The legal process moved fast because J1 made it move fast. 3 days. On day 1, the restaurant group received a notice from Con Global's legal team instructing them to halt all use of the knit concept pending ownership review. Their lawyers called back within the hour, confused and then alarmed. On day 2, J1 was on the call himself, a thing his team had not seen him do in a dispute this size. He did not negotiate. He told them the documentation was clear, the settlement on file was fraudulent, and the choice was between a clean correction and a very public, very expensive correction. They took the clean one. On day 3, Sabrina sat in Camille's kitchen with her own lawyer on video call and reviewed every document before signing anything. Her lawyer, a sharp Korean-American woman named Dana, who Camille had found through a friend of a friend, read through the package and looked up. This is clean, she said. Better than clean. They're giving you everything. I know, Sabrina said. Do you understand what this number is? Sabrina looked at the licensing revenue line. Yes. Sabrina. I calculated it myself, Dana. Dana looked at her for a moment. Right. Okay. She looked back at the documents. There's one more thing. There's a line here about ongoing naming rights and attribution in perpetuity. This is, she paused. Did you ask for this specifically? The restaurant group's flagship. Aja Diallo's name on the menu. Her photograph on the wall. A small line at the bottom of every printed menu. The knit collection originated with Sabrina Diallo and is rooted in the culinary tradition of Aja Diallo, Dakar, Senegal. Sabrina looked at the page. Yes, she said. I asked for that. Dana nodded slowly. Then sign. She signed. That evening Sabrina video called her mother. Her mother, Fatu, was in the Baltimore kitchen Sabrina had grown up in. The same table, the same yellow curtains, the same pot of something on the stove that always smelled like Sunday. Sabrina told her about the settlement. The clean version, without Webb's name or Jaewon's name, just the facts of what had been recovered and what it meant. Her mother listened without interrupting. When Sabrina finished, Fatu was quiet for a moment. Then, your grandmother's name. You put her name on it. Yes. She would have said you were being dramatic. I know. She would have said it, and then cried when you weren't looking. Sabrina laughed. It came out louder than she expected. Bah, her mother said. Child in Wolof. The word her mother only used when she was feeling something large and had no other way to say it. You are coming home. 6 weeks, Sabrina said. I'll start on the curtains for the bakery. Mama, I already have a design. Yellow, her mother said firmly. Like mine. Don't argue with me. Sabrina smiled. Yellow, she said. Jaewon showed up in Baltimore on a Tuesday. No announcement. No car service. He texted her from the airport. I landed. Tell me where. She was at the Space. A narrow row house on a block in East Baltimore, 2 streets from where her grandmother used to cook for the neighborhood on Sundays. The storefront was empty, the previous tenant's ghost still visible. Old paint, scuffed floors, a counter that needed to come out and be rebuilt. She texted him the address. He arrived 40 minutes later with a coffee and no entourage, and looked at the building the way you look at something you're trying to understand. This is it, she said. It wasn't a question. This is it, she confirmed. He walked inside. She followed. He didn't say anything for a while. He walked the space slowly, the kitchen footprint, the front room, the narrow back corridor. He looked at the ceiling, the floors, the light from the single front window. Where does the counter go? He said. She showed him. He nodded. What needs to happen first? Floors. Then the kitchen build. Then the counter and the front. Who's your contractor? My uncle Leon and 2 guys from the neighborhood he's worked with for 20 years. He nodded again. No input. No alternative suggestion. When do they start? Thursday, she said. Okay. He took out his phone, looked at it, then put it back. I have 3 calls I need to take remotely this week. I'll need 2 hours each. Everything else I'm here. She looked at him. Here where? He met her eyes. Here. Helping. Whatever that looks like. You ever done construction before? No. You ever done any physical labor? Define physical labor. Leon is 62 and he will absolutely work you into the ground without meaning to. That's fine. She studied him. He was wearing the wrong shoes. Nice pants. A jacket that was going to be destroyed by week 2. Get different shoes, she said. Something you can actually stand in. And bring clothes you can ruin. Okay. And don't give Leon advice. I won't. He knows what he's doing. He's been doing it since before you were born, and he doesn't care who you are. Understood. She looked at him one more moment. 7 a.m. Thursday, she said. Don't be late. Leon arrived at 6:58 and immediately looked at Jaewon the way a man looks at something he's going to have an opinion about. He said nothing, handed Jaewon a hammer, and pointed at a wall that needed to come down. Jaewon swung the hammer. The wall did not particularly respond. Leon watched with an expression of complete neutrality. By noon, Jaewon had taken off his jacket, rolled up his sleeves, and accepted without complaint that the wall coming down was going to take him significantly longer than it was taking Leon. Leon's nephews worked around him without comment. Someone put on music. The radio found itself eventually on a Yes-o-Dow record. No one acknowledged this, but Sabrina looked up from her notebook in the kitchen corner, and her expression shifted slightly. At 2 p.m. Leon called a water break. He walked over to where Jaewon was taking his calls in the supply closet. Waited outside. When Jaewon came out, Leon handed him a water bottle. You're not terrible, Leon said. Thank you, Jaewon said. I didn't say you were good. I know. Leon looked at him for a moment. You Korean? Yes. Sabrina's mother is going to feed you food you've never had and expect you to have 3 portions. That sounds good. It is good. That's not the point. The point is you say yes and you eat it and you tell her exactly which part you liked. Okay. Don't make it complicated. She'll know if you're performing. Jaewon looked at him. Does she know about me? Does she know a Korean man is in her daughter's business helping demolish a wall? Leon paused. She knows. Fatu knows everything 20 minutes before it happens. He walked away. Jaewon finished his water and went back to the wall. Fatu came by on Friday with food. 2 large containers. The smell hit the whole building. She walked in, assessed the space, assessed the work, assessed Leon's progress, and then turned her full attention to Jaewon. She was 5'3". She looked at him like she was reading a document. You're the one, she said. I'm sorry. The one who called her at 2 a.m. The one who came here. He said nothing. There was nothing useful to say. Fatu handed him one of the containers. Eat, she said. He ate. Standing in the middle of a half-demolished bakery smelling like sawdust. eating Fatou Diallo's thibaudin from a plastic container. He ate all of it, found her when he was done, and told her specifically the spice balance, the texture of the fish, the thing the tomato base did that was somehow both simple and exactly right. Fatou listened to all of this. 3 portions, she said, and went to get him more. Leon, across the room, did not smile, but the line of his shoulders shifted. By the end of week 2, the floors were done. J1 had a blister on his right hand that he mentioned to nobody. Sabrina noticed it on day 8 when he passed her something, and she caught the angle of his palm. She said nothing for a moment. Then she went to her bag, took out a bandage, and handed it to him. He took it. Thank you, he said. Don't be stupid about pain, she said. You need your hands to be functional. I know. There's no prize for suffering quietly. I know. She was already walking away. He put the bandage on and watched her go over the new floor plan with Leon, pointing at measurements, asking questions that showed she'd been thinking about this since 5 a.m. He stood there with his bandaged hand and felt something settle in him, so quietly, it almost wasn't a feeling at all. It was the sensation of being exactly where you were supposed to be. He went back to work. 2 weeks in Baltimore. A blister he wouldn't mention. Fatou already feeding him. This is building to something, and you know it. Like, subscribe, and tell me, what do you think Sabrina is feeling right now? She won't say it. So you say it for her. 5 weeks into the build, Min Seo flew in. J1 didn't ask her to. She booked herself a flight, landed on a Wednesday, and appeared at the bakery at 10 a.m. in a coat that was wildly overdressed for a construction site. Sabrina was marking up the counter design. She looked up when Min Seo walked in, and whatever she saw in Min Seo's face made her straightforward immediately. Does he know you're here? Sabrina asked. No, Min Seo said. I need 20 minutes. Please. They went to the back corridor. Min Seo looked at the rough walls, the exposed wiring, the work boots Sabrina wore like she'd been wearing them her whole life. I've worked for J1 for 7 years, she said. I've watched him in every version of himself. Business version. Public version. The version he is at 3 a.m. when something falls apart. She paused. I came to tell you something you don't have a reason to believe. Sabrina waited. He has not been this person since before his father died. Since before Kong Global became what it is. Min Seo looked at her directly. He didn't become hard because he wanted to. He became hard because nobody in his life gave him a reason not to. And I'm telling you this not because I want you to feel sorry for him. Then why? Because you're about to open your bakery, and then what? Min Seo paused. I watch people in his orbit do the smart thing all the time. The protected thing. They manage their exposure. They keep a door open. They don't let it cost them. She looked at Sabrina steadily. You are the only person I've ever seen him look at like the cost doesn't matter. Sabrina was quiet. I'm not asking you to do anything, Min Seo said. I just thought you should know what you're looking at from the outside. She straightened her coat. Your floors are beautiful, she said. Good luck with the opening. She walked out. Sabrina stood in the back corridor for a moment. Then she went back to the counter design. The night before the opening, Sabrina was alone in the bakery at midnight. Everything was done. The floors caught the light. The counter was smooth dark wood. The kitchen was exactly what she designed. The front window had her grandmother's name in clean gold letters. Aja Diallo, 1941 to 2019, and below it the photograph Sabrina had found in a box in her mother's closet. Her grandmother at 40, standing in front of a clay oven in Dakar, laughing at something off camera, completely herself. Sabrina stood in front of it for a long time. It has your name on it, Grandma, she said. Finally, she sat on the floor of the empty room with her back against the new counter. The binder was in her bag. She'd brought it out of habit. She opened it to the first page, the original sketch from culinary school, that 2 a.m. drawing, Diallo's in her 22-year-old handwriting. She looked at it, then at the room. She'd done it. Every line from the sketch existed in 3 dimensions around her. 7 years of work, 3 years of detour, 1 destroyed career, 1 ocean, 1 wrong elevator. It's here, she thought. It's actually here. The sound of a key in the door. She looked up. J1. He was still in the clothes he'd been working in earlier. He stopped when he saw her on the floor. You gave me a key, he said. I wasn't sure if that meant. Sit down, she said. He sat next to her on the floor. Close. Their backs against the counter, looking at the room. You should be sleeping, he said. So should you. I couldn't. Same. They sat in the dark for a while. How does it feel, he said. She looked at the photograph of her grandmother. Like I always knew it would. But somehow still completely different. He followed her eyes to the photograph. She would have told you that you took too long, he said. Sabrina exhaled a laugh. Exactly what she would have said. And then she would have given you the face. What face? The face that means she's proud of you, but pride is for the quiet. Sabrina went still. She looked at him. My grandmother is a woman you never met, she said slowly. I know, he said. But you described her enough. I feel like I understand the shape of her. She looked at him for a long moment. This man. Sitting on her floor in work clothes with flour, she'd shaken off her apron on the shoulder of his sleeve. This man who had filed settlement agreements on her behalf and eaten 3 portions of her mother's food and let Leon work him to the bone without complaint. Who slept in a hotel 12 minutes away and showed up every day at 6:58 without being asked. J1, she said. Yes. What do you want? Actually, not what you're willing to settle for. He turned his head toward her. You, he said. Without pause. Without performance. Just a fact, stated. She held his gaze. I'm not a building you can acquire. I know. I'm not going to perform for a relationship. I know. I'm going to open tomorrow, and it's going to be hard and enormous and consuming, and I will not be putting anything second to it. I know. I don't want you to. I'll be difficult. You're already difficult. I'm serious. So am I. She looked at him. You're going to mess this up at some point, she said. Probably, he said. So will you. And you're going to have to say when you're sorry. I know. Not the managed version. The actual version. Sabrina. He turned toward her slightly. I sat on that bench for 11 days buying croissants in the rain because I couldn't figure out how to be known, and you were the first person who made me think it was possible. He paused. I don't know how to be perfect. I know how to show up. She looked at him. Tomorrow, she said. Open. Chaos. My mother there. Leon there. Camille making a disaster of the social media. I'll be wherever you need me. I need you in the kitchen at 5 a.m. to start the lamination prep. Leon showed you the dough temp control. You can handle the first batch. He blinked. That's yes. Okay. Don't tell me you can handle it if you can't. I can handle it. 5 a.m. I'll be here at 4:45. She looked at him one more moment. Then she took his hand and held it. Just that. Both of them on the floor of her bakery in the dark. Outside, the neighborhood was quiet. A car passed. Someone's music 2 streets over. Baltimore doing what Baltimore does at midnight, breathing. Thank you, she said, for the order of things. He didn't answer. He turned his hand over and held hers back. They sat until 1 a.m. Then she told him to go sleep. He left. She locked the door behind him, stood in the middle of her bakery alone, and smiled to herself in the dark. Opening day. 5:04 a.m. The kitchen lights were on. J1 was already at the prep table when Sabrina came through the back door. He had the lamination butter blocked, the dough at temp, and was reading her handwritten instruction card with the focus of someone disarming something. She looked at the table, looked at him. You read the card, she said. Twice. She set her bag down, tied her apron. Show me where you are, she said. He showed her. She corrected one thing, the fold angle, without commentary. He adjusted. She nodded. They worked in silence for 40 minutes. The kitchen filled with warmth. The smell of butter and cardamom and the specific sweetness of laminated dough in the oven spread through the entire building. At 6:30, her mother arrived. Fatu walked through the back door with a bag of food that was not necessary and was entirely necessary, assessed the kitchen, and announced she was taking the register. Mama. Ba. Final word. She put her bag down and went to learn the register. Camille arrived at 7, took one look at the front room, walked back to the kitchen, and said to Sabrina, you should see the line. How long? End of the block. Sabrina was in the middle of pulling a tray from the oven. She set it down, didn't look up. That's the line. That's not the whole line, Camille said. That's the line I can see from the window. J1, beside her, said nothing. He took the next tray from the lower rack without being asked. Diallo's opened at 8 a.m. The door opened, and Baltimore walked in. The neighborhood first, people who'd watched the build happen week by week, who remembered Aja Diallo's Sunday cooking, who knew Fatu from the church and the school and the places your life leaves an impression. An older woman came in and stopped in front of Aja's photograph and stood there so long the people behind her waited without a word. The young women from the culinary program Sabrina had hired moved through the kitchen like they'd been doing it for years. Because they'd been there every day for 2 weeks, learning the recipes, the timings, the specific way Sabrina wanted the honey cardamom finished. They'd earned it. By 9 a.m. the line was 40 minutes long and not shortening. By 10 a.m. 3 journalists were outside. Camille handled them with terrifying efficiency. By 11 a.m. the honey cardamom croissants were gone. The Thibodine-inspired morning bun had 2 pieces left. The almond tart was down to 1. Sabrina was everywhere. Front, kitchen, back, front again. She fixed a display, answered a question from the new hire, thanked a customer who'd driven 40 minutes, went back to the kitchen, pulled a tray, did it again. At 11:30, she stopped in the kitchen doorway. Just for a moment. The room in front of her was full. The photograph on the wall. The name in gold letters. Her mother laughing at something a customer said. Camille looking uncharacteristically emotional behind a cup of coffee. Leon at a corner table, alone, eating an almond croissant with his eyes closed. Her name, Diallo's, on everything. She stood there and let it land. J1 found her at 2 p.m. when the rush had settled to a steady pace. She was in the kitchen doing inventory. He came in with 2 cups of coffee, real ones, from a cafe down the street. Her order. She took one. You should go home, she said. I'm not tired. I know. I said should, not need to. He leaned against the counter. Looked at her. It's everything you drew, he said. The sketch. This is exactly it. She didn't look up from the inventory clipboard. Almost exactly, she said. The counter is 6 inches shorter than I planned. I didn't notice. I notice. He watched her work. Sabrina. I need to tell you something. She looked up. I have to go back to Seoul next week. Tokyo deal, Busan deal, and Min SEO is going to actually quit if I don't appear in a room in person in the next 10 days. Okay, she said. I'll be back in 3 weeks. For at the outside. Okay. He looked at her. That's it. What do you want me to say? I don't know. Something. She set the clipboard down. Looked at him fully. You have a business, she said. I have a business. Neither of us is stopping either of those things. You go, you do what needs doing, you come back. She paused. That's how it works. You've thought about this. Since week 2 in Baltimore, yes. You didn't say anything. You didn't ask. He looked at her. That specific look she'd seen him use approximately never, where the layer that came first, the composed Kanje-1 layer, was simply not there. I don't want to lose this, he said. What we're? You're not going to lose it, she said. How do you know? Because you'll come back. And I'll be here. And we're not the kind of people who say things we don't mean. He was quiet. J1, she said. I have been building toward this bakery for 7 years. I did not survive everything I survived to lose myself in someone else's timeline. Even yours. She picked the clipboard back up. But I want you here when you're here. Fully. Not managing me from a distance. I know how to be here now, he said. I know you do. That's why I'm telling you to go. He stared at her. She made a small gesture with the clipboard. Go on then. He left the kitchen. She went back to inventory. Smiled at the clipboard. He left on a Friday. No ceremony. He came by the bakery Thursday evening, ate whatever Fatu put in front of him, helped stack chairs at close, and walked her to her car. At the car, he stopped. 3 weeks, he said. Don't count it. Just do the work. Right. She opened the car door. Paused. J1. Yeah. When you get back. She looked at him steadily. I'm going to teach you the full lamination process. Start to finish. His mouth shifted. Okay. It's going to take 3 sessions minimum. You're going to be terrible the first 2. I know. And you're going to stop when I say stop and start when I say start. Understood. That's all, she said. He nodded. She got in the car. He stood in the street and watched her drive away. 3 weeks later. 6 a.m. Diallo's back kitchen. Morning prep. Sabrina was at the table when she heard the back door. J1 walked in. Plain clothes. Good shoes this time. He'd gotten better at shoes. A bag that probably had his laptop and a 12-hour work backlog in it. Left at the door without hesitation. He washed his hands. Came to the table. Looked at the dough in front of him. Where do I start? He said. She positioned the block in front of him. Showed him once. Stepped back. He placed his hands on the dough. Gentle, she said. It's not a deal you're closing. He laughed. Short and real. The one she'd heard from him exactly 4 times now. Each time better than the last. He began. She washed his hands. Then she turned back to her own work, and the kitchen moved into its rhythm. Quiet and warm, smelling of butter and cardamom, and something beginning. But that's not where this ends. 3 months later, J1 was on a call in the bakery's back office, a small room Sabrina had given him for his sole work because she refused to let him take calls in the supply closet anymore, when Min SEO said something that made him sit up. The Beaumont group reached out, she said. I know Beaumont. What do they want? They want a meeting. Specifically about a potential acquisition target. A pause. They're asking about Diallo's. J1 went completely still. They want to acquire. They want to approach her. Independently. They found the press coverage from the opening, the attribution story, the grandmother angle. It's been building online for weeks. Min SEO paused. They're calling it the most compelling new food brand in the East Coast market. They want to talk to her about 3 new locations and a national concept deal. He looked through the small window into the kitchen. Sabrina was teaching the morning crew. She had flour on her forearm and was saying something that made the youngest hire laugh. What do you want me to tell them? Min SEO said. Nothing, he said. J1. This is not ours to manage, Min SEO. He stood. It's hers. He walked out of the office and into the kitchen. Sabrina looked up. What? She said, reading his face immediately, the way she read everything. He leaned against the doorframe. Someone wants to talk to you, he said. About Diallo's expansion. She went still. Who? The Beaumont group. She looked at him. What did you say? Nothing, he said. I said nothing. It's your call. She looked at him for a long moment. 3 new locations. A national concept. Her grandmother's name. Her work. Her name. She looked at the kitchen around her. At the flower on her arm. At the crew she'd built. At the photograph on the wall. She looked at him. Set the meeting, she said. He nodded. But I go alone, she said. I know. And whatever I decide is yours, he said. Always. She held his gaze. Then she turned back to the prep table, picked up her scraper, and said to the crew, okay, let's go again. Fold angle, everyone, show me. The kitchen moved. J1 stayed in the doorway. He looked at the photograph of Aja Diallo on the wall. That woman, 1987, Dakar, standing in front of a clay oven, laughing. What has value, first has a price. He understood that now. He understood what he was part of. He went back to his office, opened his laptop, let her work. Outside, Baltimore was doing what Baltimore does, loud and alive and full of people building things in the city that made them. Diallo's in gold on the window, a line already forming at the door. She built it. She got her name back. She got her grandmother's name on the wall. And now someone wants to take it national. But the question nobody's asking yet, what happens when the Beaumont Group finds out that Kang Jae-won is connected to the woman they're trying to sign? What happens when that meeting goes somewhere nobody expected? If you made it to the end, hit that like button. Subscribe right now so you're here when part 2 drops. And tell me in the comments, what do you think Sabrina's going to do in that meeting? Is she going to take the deal? This has been Lily's Afro-Korean Mafia Tales. See you next time.